It is my great honor and privilege to be before you once again. We say in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, to all of those who are tuning in from around the world via internet. We greet all of you with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. I'm very happy and pleased that we have with us today one of the Nation of Islam's and the black community's foremost scholar on religion and on, really, we could say, history, anthropology. He is really a wonderful, wonderful teacher, lecturer, writer. He has authored over nearly 10 books now, received his master's in religion, not his master's, his bachelor's in religious studies from Morehouse. He has a master's and a PhD degree in Islamic studies, and most of his books are from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on perhaps one of the most important subjects that one could ask: who is God? The reality of God. And this new book, which is a must-read, is titled Understanding the Assault on the Black Male, or Black Man, Black Manhood, and Black Masculinity. Now, none dare call it conspiracy, but God didn't leave it up to the people to call it what it is. He had to introduce the conspiracy himself in the Bible and in the Quran. The attack on the black man is not by accident. It is not a coincidence. It is by design. And the nature of a conspiracy is that the parties involved, many are totally ignorant to the intended target of the conspiracy. You don't even know that you are being drawn into the conspiracy. So making the people aware of the conspiracy helps to save those from being drawn into a conspiracy out of ignorance. So today, I hope you have come prepared. Did you have your coffee, your Starbucks? You had you put a little something on your stomach? Because we are going to really go deeper into what the minister said in his interview, and that is the chemical feminization of the black male. And our great student minister will present to us today the actual facts that prove that what the minister has been saying is the truth. Are you ready to receive our student minister? Help me, Mas Mariam, all of those who are watching around the world, please help me to welcome our student minister, Dr. Wesley Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, who came in a person, a master, Wesley Muhammad, to whom all holy praises are forever due, we bear witness there is no God but Allah. And we bear witness that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his living and exalted Christ. By living, we mean having not yet died, but is alive and in power today. We further bear witness that the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan is their divine reminder in our midst, the apostle of God, and proof that Allah did not cease intervening in the affairs of the black man and woman in America in 1975. In their names, I greet you, family. Assalamu alaikum. Since we are a day or two out from the beginning of February, happy Savior's Day. To my brother, student minister Ishmael Muhammad, National Assistant of the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, I'm tremendously thankful to Allah for you, for your brotherhood, for your service to the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. Family, I'm always honored to be afforded the opportunity to mount this rostrum. This is the headquarters of the Nation of Islam, the most significant platform, certainly in all of Black America, really in all of the world. I don't take this opportunity lightly. I believe I shared with my brother, student minister Ishmael, that don't bother putting me on any or in any regular rotation. I don't want to mount this rostrum except I feel Allah has given me something very definite and specific to share. I believe Allah has given me something very definite and specific to share this morning. Slide, please. Slide, please. In 2012, Gallup conducted the largest study of American lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender population and concluded that while historically gay was perceived as, and actually was, an affluent or rich white person phenomenon, today, Blacks are more likely to be gay than whites. Today, in America, Black people are more likely to self-identify as gay than whites. According to this Gallup poll, Blacks are the highest single percentage of self-identified gays, higher than whites, higher than Asians, and higher than Hispanics. What's behind this remarkable demographic shift? How did homosexuality go from being a white thing, which it absolutely originally was, to being almost a Black thing? It ain't a Black thing. Don't get it twisted. Don't believe the hype. Gay ain't the new Black, but they are trying hard to make it that. And those who have deliberately migrated, if I can use that word, migrated homosexuality from the white community to the Black community, they have also transferred to the black community the health perils of homosexuality. Gay black men get HIV at 3 times the rate that gay white men get it, even though the risk factors are comparable. Like homosexuality itself, AIDS was originally a gay white man disease. But today, the face of AIDS is black men and black women, gay and straight. In 2014, according to the CDC, 44% of all new HIV cases were black, though we make up only 12% of the American population. This is no accident. So we are justified in asking the question with urgency, what the hell is going on? What has happened to make homosexuality, and I have said before, America was founded as a homosexual nation. European expansion and European imperialism was a homosexual enterprise. But today, homosexuality has morphed from white to black, at least in those self-identified gays. What happened? In the Holy Quran, it says, and the Jews planned, and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. Allah is the best planner because while the enemy is in secret counsel, Allah hears his schemes. He sees the enemy's machinations, and then Allah can formulate a better plan, a plan that either neutralizes the enemy's plan or uses the enemy's plan to God's benefit. God discloses the enemy's plans against his people, God's people. God discloses the enemy's schemes to his people. How? In the book of Ezekiel, 33rd chapter, we are told that God sets over the people a watchman. God reveals his word to the watchman, and that word includes knowledge of the wicked schemes of the enemy. So the watchman is able and is duty-bound to warn the people of the sword that's coming for their head. The Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan is not a conspiracy theorist. The Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan is the watchman that Allah God has set over the true children of Israel, into whom God feeds knowledge of the schemes of our enemies. The Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan faithfully fulfills his duty to warn the people of our enemies' plots against us, just as he has warned us of the origin of crack and the plan of crack cocaine before God gave it to Gary Webb. The Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan told us about the crack conspiracy, just as the minister, as watchman, has warned us about the militarization of law enforcement in the cities, and now we hear President Trump confirming the prophecy, the warning of the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan. The Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan is now and has been warning us that this government is using chemicals to feminize the black male and to masculinize the black female. Chemicals in our food, chemicals in our water, chemicals in our medications. It's Sunday morning, family, but I didn't come to preach. I didn't even come to deliver a lecture. We came today to make a case before the world. We have come today to lay out a case against and to indict the white man for covertly and deliberately feminizing the black male and masculinizing the black female with chemicals, with aim and purpose. And so, Allah willing, brothers and sisters, we will learn today that you need to stop listening to Farrakhan with doubt and suspicion. Every time, if you wait long enough, if you look closely enough, every time Farrakhan's word and warning is vindicated. So I hope the black students and the LGBT community from Long Beach, California are listening. You may ask, Brother Wesley, why would the white man do that? Minister Farrakhan is laying a heavy charge at the foot of this government. Indeed, he is. Why is the thinking man and thinking woman's right question? A provable crime needs a demonstrable motive. What is the white man's motive for chemically feminizing the black man and masculinizing the black woman? There are actually quite a few reasons. Time today will only allow us to highlight two. Slide, please. The influential American sociologist Robert Ezra Park, co-author of a standard textbook in the field of sociology, advanced the theory that the Negro was the lady of the races. Delicate, artistic, the Negro liked to sing and dance. And too polite to hurt anyone's feelings. In contrast to the white Anglo-Saxon, who was the man of the races, strong and pioneering, Park's racial and racist sociology was only a modern version of the old colonial propaganda, according to which heterosexual masculinity was strictly a white prerogative in European colonies. In the European colonies, white heterosexuality, white male heterosexuality was strictly and legally the prerogative of the white colonials, even while a homosexual imperative actually underpinned the whole colonial operation. The European colonies were homosexual playgrounds for the white man. But the white man's twisted mind, in his twisted mind, he preserved his masculinity by making the colonized men the lady of the race and the lady in the forced homosexual relationship that littered all of the white man's colonies in Africa, in the Americas, in the Isles of the Pacific. All of the white man's colonies were his homosexual playground. The colonized native cultures were feminized, and the local men were unmanned in order to protect the white colonial's privilege of being the only man in town. This country never put this racist myth of the Negro as the lady of the races to rest. Instead, the scientists have gone to work to make the myth a reality, to scientifically feminize the black male so that he would present his own self to the world as indeed the lady of the races. So look at our brother. Look at Mike Dicker, former Chicago Bears coach. And our brother, Ricky Williams. Mike Dicker is the strong Anglo-Saxon. He's a man. And our brother, Ricky Williams, one of the best football players, tailbacks, that ever played the game, coming out of the University of Texas. He's the lady in the relationship. This is the psychological operation that goes along with the scientific operation. Reason 2, next slide, please. Psychiatrist Dr. Peter Breggin, an industry whistleblower, has been exposing and fighting against the government's deliberate assault on the minds of young black children through the agency of their psychiatric establishment. He wrote a very important book, The War Against Children of Color. Psychiatry targets the inner city youth. Dr. Breggin informs us, and listen closely, Dr. Breggin is called by his peers the conscience of psychiatry because of his whistleblowing. And what is he blowing the whistle on? Listen to his words. In the wake, quote, in the wake of the black urban uprisings in the late 1960s, by which he means when Watts blew up in 1965, Detroit in 1967, and then after, they killed our brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 68, 100 cities went in revolt. Dr. Breggin says, in the wake of the black urban uprisings in the late 1960s, America became preoccupied with the threatening figure of the young black male. America became preoccupied with the threatening figure of the young black male, as well as the overall danger of rebellion and social chaos. Led by the National Institute of Mental Health and the Justice Department, the federal government began to develop an overall program for biomedical control of violence. It was inspired by fear of violence in the inner city and aimed at control of young black males. A program of biomedical control of violence aimed at this threatening figure of the young black male with which this country, since 1965, has been preoccupied with. What does biomedical control of violence in black men. What does that mean? After the riots, the U.S. government, through its agencies and through funded scientists, spread the lie that black males at the heart of the urban rebellions were motivated not by factors of social and economic oppression. They were motivated by a mental disorder. And so all black men who revolt or engage in social protests are mentally ill and must be mind fixed. So Dr. Bregan says further, quote, the U.S. government is planning a massive program of psychiatric intervention into the inner cities aimed at identifying and treating young children with presumed genetic and biochemical predispositions to violence. Children between the ages of 2 and 18 will be targeted. The major treatment inevitably will be drugs. Let's unpack this. The government, out of fear of young black males who will rise up in rebellion, planned a program of massive targeting of inner city boys from 2 to 18 years old who are allegedly predisposed to being violent. But what they really mean, who show signs of being leaders of their people. They are targeted with psychiatric intervention, meaning their brains are assaulted with drugs and biomedical control of black male bodies through the administration of drugs. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you follow? What drugs will be used to biomedically control these young black men? Next slide, please. Be patient with your brother. We're indicting the white man today. We're indicting the white man today. No longer can we leave the minister's charge against our enemy in the realm of speculation in your and my mind. No longer. Because only until we embrace it as the fact and reality that it is will we be motivated to make the necessary changes to escape the sword of the white man that's aimed at our head. The government's program to biomedically control black males was called the Violence Prevention Initiative. It was managed by Dr. Frederick Goodwin. Drink that face in. It was managed by Dr. Frederick Goodwin, director of the National Institute of Mental Health. This was in 1992, a $400 million program of the Bush 1 administration. In a document released via a Freedom of Information Act request, document dated March 9th, 1992, and entitled Preventing Youth Violence. Dr. Goodwin's agency, the National Institute of Mental Health, indicated that one of the drugs it will use in its program to biomedically control black men is a drug called Depo-Provera. Depo-Provera is a female contraceptive, a female birth control. What is the significance of this government planning to biomedically control young black men by administering to them Depo-Provera. Family, this is not only a smoking gun. This is as close to a government confession of a program, a conspiracy to chemically feminize black males. Put that on the shelf for a minute. We're going to come back to Depo-Provera and what they're really saying, what they are revealing about their intentions for us by indicating that they plan to biomedically control black men in the inner cities by administering, by intervening in our psychiatry or psychology, assaulting our brain with Depo-Provera. Next slide, please. To give context to this confession, that your government, my government, plans to control inner city black males by introducing, by administering covertly, secretly, without your and my knowledge, administering to you and I Depo-Provera as context. I submit this very important document. From 1987, and the year is important. From Psychological Bulletin, Dr. Lee Ellis and Dr. Ashley Ames, an article entitled Neurohormonal Functioning and Sexual Orientation. Why this article is so critically important, not only to understand the government's 1992 Violence Prevention Initiative, but to understand the whole phenomenon of black homosexuality today. The whole phenomenon, this new phenomenon of black homosexuality. With the confessions here, you and I can understand it for what it is, a spawn of the white man's science. The black homosexual phenomenon today that has blacks outnumbering whites, Asians, and Hispanics as self-identified gays. That phenomenon is a spawn of white science, and in this document, we have the science laid out. An important section in this document: experimental induction of sexual inversions in non-humans. Sexual inversion. What is a sexual inversion? Well, we can illustrate that best if you think of Young Thug and Young M.A. You got Young Thug and Young M.A. in your mind? That's sexual inversion. Sexual inversion is transgendering. So, in this document, the science by which sexual inversions were produced in the laboratory and then moved out, what they call in vitro, in the lab, and then moved out in vivo, in real life, the science to doing this is laid out here. They say, and listen, it's 1987. In the past 30 years, a large array of sexual inversions have been experimentally induced in laboratory animals. in the last 30 years, that means since 1950, a large array of sexual inversions have been experimentally induced in laboratory animals. 5 basic methods for inducing sexual inversions of a neurological, behavioral nature, inducing sexual inversion neurologically in the mind and behaviorally. So you don't only think you're a woman but a man, or think you're a man but are a woman, but you behave as a woman though you're a man. You behave as a man though you're a woman. 5 basic methods. 5 methods of scientifically inducing sexual inversion were mastered by 1987 and had been worked on since 1950. All aspects of mammal anatomy, physiology, and behavior can be sexually inverted. Ain't nothing but a thing, they say. All aspects of mammal, these are scientists talking about what they do, what they have successfully done in a laboratory. All aspects of mammal anatomy, physiology, and behavior can be sexually inverted. Most, if not all, of the methods for causing sexual inversion involve altering androgen and or other sex hormone levels while the various parts of the body are sexually differentiating in the womb. Androgens. Androgens are the hormones that determine masculinity, as estrogen is a hormone that determines femininity. The main androgen is testosterone. We're going to talk a lot about testosterone, family. We're going to talk a lot about estrogen, family. 2 methods, or there are 5 methods of transgendering the world. 2 of them we want to highlight today. 1, a most insidious method that, to me, illustrates what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. You can't fathom the depth of Satan. One method that this document brags about mastering is weaponizing the mother's immune system against her male fetus. Immunity refers to the tendency of an organism's white blood cells to chemically attack foreign substances by building antibodies to those substances. You follow? That's what immunity is. The immune system attacks designated foreign substances that enters the body. It produces its soldiers, these antibodies, and they attack the foreign substances. These scientists accomplish tricking a mother's immune system into believing her male fetus's testosterone is a foreign substance, and a mother's immune system will produce antibodies to assault the testosterone of her male fetus. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? What I'm saying to you is never leave your baby alone with white folks. Never, ever in life, I don't care what you got to do, don't ever leave your baby for a second. Don't let her say, "Mother, you look tired. You need some rest. Let me take your newborn to the nursery." And that's why you and I should never in life allow one of our babies to come into this world and we not be there. Never in life. They know. They know how to manipulate the mother who just went through death to give birth to life. And that's why she needs a protector, but that child needs a protector because they real gangster with it in the hospitals today. I just had a baby. I didn't have a baby. My wife just had a baby. They real gangster with trying to get our baby away from us. And we are seeing some of why they are so insistent on getting our babies from us. They have mastered weaponizing the mother's immune system from the masculinity of her own boy child. I was asked, Brother Dr. Wesley, do you believe gay people are born that way? I said, well, many probably are. But not because Allah made them that way, but because Satan is insistent on intervening in our lives' affairs in the womb of women, in particular the black woman. Satan absolutely is intervening, has scientifically mastered interfering with God's work in the womb of the woman. So some do come into when this man can trick the mother's immune system to assault the masculinity of her man, and ain't nobody seeing nothing. So you take your baby home, and then after puberty, you see these changes, and you ask yourself, what did I do? Well, what we did was trusted our enemy with our baby. That's what you did, that's what you did, that's what I did. The second method, the chemical manipulation of sexuality through drugs. I need that slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Listen to this confession. Several neurological or neurologically active drugs can block testosterone's effects. Let's talk about testosterone for a minute, because there's a lot of misunderstanding. Testosterone is not just a sex drug, the sex hormone. Androgens are hormones that trigger the growth and sustenance of primary and secondary male characteristics. Testosterone is one such androgen, but testosterone does more way more than control libido, male libido. Testosterone produces the masculine brain and controls masculine behavior. Testosterone masculinizes the brain of men. The feminists want us to believe, Brother Minister, that gender is purely a social construct, that male and female are artificial things, artificial categories. They wrong. The devil lied. Masculinity and femininity is anchored in biochemistry. Testosterone produces the masculine, the male brain. It masculinizes the brain. It masculinizes behavior. And it is called now the dominance hormone. Because what testosterone does, it encourages behavior intended to acquire dominance. So scientists are using the term today, the power hormone. High levels of testosterone encourages behavior that will acquire dominance. The scientists have said, and this is critical, when we reflect on Dr. Bregan's warning, scientists have said an example of testosterone as a dominance hormone is that people who revolt against oppressors, their testosterone level is high. So high testosterone is a biochemical attribute of those who revolt against oppressors. Now, both men and women have testosterone, but women have only 1/10 the amount of testosterone that men have. Men and women have estrogen. Men have estrogen. And this is a critical point. Male estrogen is produced from testosterone. There's a natural amount of estrogen in men. And then there's consequences for an unnatural amount of estrogen in men. We're going to look at those consequences and the process by which not just the white man is raising our estrogen, but how you and I, in our nigger culture, you and I, in our nigger culture, are feminizing ourselves. What do I mean by nigger culture? The nigger is real. Everyone who listened to more than 2 or 3 of my lectures know that certain things I always mention. The black God and the nigger. The black God is always going to find some way in my lectures, and the nigger is always going to find some way into my lecture. I don't care if I'm talking about fried eggs. The black God and the nigger is going to find his way into that discussion. The nigger is real. The nigger is American white supremacy's Frankenstein. One theme of our discussion today that I will repeat. Black America is white America's science project. And the nigger is the scientific creation of American white supremacy. Just like Frankenstein and nigger culture is equally the scientific creation. So much of what we salute and praise as black culture, no, it's nigger culture. We're going to look at some key examples. This culture that was created and imposed on you and I. And so much of the scientifically created nigger culture that we refuse to give up. The things we fight the hardest to cling to are the very things that's assaulting our masculinity. So testosterone is the dominance hormone. And high levels of testosterone characterizes the quest for dominance, and in particular, they discovered the quest to overcome oppression. Do you follow? So let's go back to the confessions. Several neurologically active drugs can block testosterone's effects or otherwise interfere with the neuroorganizational actions of the sex hormones. Examples include such anti-androgens, androgens being the male hormone. Anti-androgens are drugs that prevent testosterone from doing what it do in the male body. You follow? Anti-androgens are testosterone blockers, drugs that act as testosterone blockers. Examples of such anti-androgens, drugs that keep testosterone from doing what it do. Some examples are Depo-Provera, the drug that the government's $400 million program to biomedically control black men. That drug, Depo-Provera, is an anti-androgen, and what does it do? These drugs alter the synthesis of androgens, the formation of androgen receptor sites, or the filling of androgen receptor sites in the brain. When they are administered to pregnant mothers, while the fetus's brain is being sexually organized, offspring are likely to have their post-pubertal sexual behavior affected. If a mother is administered Depo-Provera while she's pregnant, or, which is being encouraged, if while breastfeeding you surrender to the doctor's insistence that you go on birth control. But Ishmael, only half of my baby was out of the womb when the nurses are pressing my wife about what birth control she want to use. They are hawks about putting you on birth control immediately. And if you are breastfeeding while on birth control, the birth control, Depo-Provera, or the pill, we're going to talk about the pill, while you are on birth control while breastfeeding, it's feminizing your male child and it's masculinizing you. We're going to look at that in a minute. But Depo-Provera, look what Depo-Provera does. The selected drug to biomedically control you and I. The best documented effect is the tendency for various anti-androgens to have feminizing and demasculinizing effects on the sexual behavior of male rats after the onset of puberty. For example, preventing and elevating the rear to other males accompanying failure to mount females. Depo-Provera inspires homosexuality. It doesn't just feminize the biology, produce man boobs, or what they call. It doesn't just redistribute the fat on women targets the hip area. Fat in men targets the abdomen. Depo-Provera reverses that. So that's why you have a lot of men with big hips today. But it does more than feminize the physiology. It induces, as the minister said, the chemicals put a thought in the mind. Here is the fact. Here's the proof. The Depo-Provera that our government targeted you and I with actually induces, chemically induces homosexuality in men. Do you follow? Now, going on, and this will be a difficult part of our discussion. Many drugs, they say, besides these anti-androgens, such as Depo-Provera, many drugs, such drugs appear to at least partially divert or block masculinization of the nervous system during neuroorganization. Many drugs besides these have a partial demasculizing effect. The list includes barbiturates, which are drugs, yada, 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 marijuana. Uh-oh. Your weed family is subtly, partially feminizing you. We have documented. See how quiet it is? See how quiet it is? What? You want to get up and walk out on me like the LGBT walked out on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in Long Beach? That's what you want to do? Okay. Okay. Well, if you don't now, I'm going to work hard to make you. We have documented that the enhanced weed, now look, in this confession, marijuana is identified by the conspirators as an anti-androgen drug that assaults, that blocks the development of masculinity. We have documented that the weed that hit the streets in the late 60s came through CIA laboratories and passed first through the hands of CIA assets before you were ever able to light it up yourself. We have also documented that not only does this now popular government-touched weed with its increased THC content, not only does it diminish executive cognitive function, yeah, bruh, you're pretty functional when you lift it. That is true. You can go to work, and if the job ain't too complex, you can do a reasonably good job at it. We don't mess with nigga stuff. Weed, the THC, diminishes what they call executive cognitive function, that higher level thinking, that black God thinking. We have documented that not only does it poison your sperm, and I'm going to mention why it's quiet over there. We have documented that not only does it poison your sperm, but it also mildly feminizes you. We're going to look at some of the manifestations of the mild feminization. But we also documented that since 1975, the U.S. government has made imported and domestically grown marijuana effectively an ethnic weapon against black people by contaminating much, if not most, if not all, of weed plants with a dangerous pesticide called paraquat. Paraquat has what's called a melanin affinity. That means the toxic chemical binds to melanated tissue, and it attaches and stays in melanated bodies for life, releasing poisons into the body. Weed has been weaponized, ethnically weaponized against black people. Yet, weed smoking is the religion of black folks 45 and under, including those of us in here. Weed is the religion of black folks 45 and under. Yeah, it is. The level of, y'all should see the faces I'm looking at over there. Can you get them? It's okay. I know you. It happens all the time. I understand. You got lifted before you came. I understand. The level of foolish argument advanced to defend weed smoking, and to not just them, you two. The dogmatic clinging to it, the foolish rationalizations of it. Weed smoking has become a religion in the hood, in the black community. And bruh, you got your weed religion from the same person you got Christianity from. And while I'm on that subject, and I already got y'all mad at me, let me go ahead and drop the other shoe. Next slide, please. Alcohol companies target African American youth more than their white counterparts. Why? Why are every black community littered with Planned Parenthood offices, liquor stores, and churches? Now think, family, we don't do executive function thinking. We do low-level thinking because we should really ask ourselves, but not just rhetorically, why are all of these liquor stores in the black community? Spirit shops are their greatest density are in black areas. We rhetorically ask ourselves that, but we don't wait long enough to get the answer So the question doesn't keep us from running up in that liquor store and getting what we need to get to do what we want to do. Well, we're going to shed light on why liquor stores so dominate the black community, and why it is a post-60s phenomenon and how it's related to the warning that Dr. Peter Breggin gave us, how it's related to this country's preoccupation with young black males and the threat of urban revolt. In 2012, the Center on Alcohol Marketing and Youth, associated with Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, published a report documenting that alcohol companies specifically target black youth ages 12 to 20 with 32% more advertising than white youth in national magazines. Now, white youth have the money. You broke. Why would money be invested to advertise, to privilege advertising to a poor community rather than an able community? Look at what they say. At least 14 long-term studies have found that the more young people are exposed to alcohol advertising and marketing, the more likely they are to drink, or if they are already drinking, to drink more. A study conducted showed that liquor stores are disproportionately located in predominantly black areas. Dr. Nicholas Emanuel and Dr. Marianne Emanuel. You want to know why? There's liquor stores on every corner of the black community. Dr. Marianne Emanuel and Dr. Nicholas Emanuel from Loyola University. Dr. Nicholas Emanuel is director of the Division of Endocrinology and Metabolism at Loyola University here outside of Chicago. In their important study, alcohol's effects on male reproduction. Can I read you and I something? Numerous studies have indicated that alcohol abuse in men can cause impaired testosterone production. Remember, testosterone is not just a sex hormone, a libido hormone. Testosterone is the dominance hormone, the power hormone. Numerous studies have indicated that alcohol abuse in men can cause impaired testosterone production and shrinkage of testes, i.e., testicular atrophy. Testicular atrophy appears to be common among alcoholics. You know, the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, he often mentions, you know, black leaders, those black leaders who have testicles the size of dried raisins. Well, they are probably chronic alcohol users. Because chronic alcohol use atrophies your testicles. Now, we ain't asking nobody to show they goods. But not only does alcohol, extended or frequent alcohol use, back up, the study indicated that the most widely used drug by black youth, weed is second, Brother Minister Ishmael. The most widely used drug for black youth, and I suspect black people, is alcohol. So what's the effects of that? Not only do we have, if we were to fact check everybody, we would see a lot of dried raisins up in here, I'm sure. But we ain't fact checking. But not only does alcohol diminish testosterone, atrophy testicles, reduce sperm count, but it does something even more horrendous. Frequent alcohol use creates excess estrogen in the male body. How does it do that? I mentioned that all men have estrogen already in us. We have estrogen, a natural amount of estrogen. The estrogen in men is produced from testosterone. Testosterone, a certain amount of testosterone converts to estrogen. The agent of that conversion process is an enzyme called aromatase, A-R-O-M-A-T-A-S-E, aromatase. It's an enzyme that converts some testosterone to estrogen. Do you follow? That process is called aromatization, the process by which this enzyme converts its set natural amount of testosterone to estrogen. Alcohol, frequent alcohol use, artificially stimulates the process of aromatization. Frequent alcohol use stimulates that enzyme to produce excess estrogen. So that's why heavy drinkers have breasts. Men drinkers have breasts. We ain't gonna ask nobody to fact check. Keep your shirt on. The reason alcohol is the #1 drug among black youth is because there's a liquor shop on every corner. And the reason there's a liquor shop on every corner is because our enemy wants us to be chronic alcohol users. And the reason our enemy wants us to be chronic alcohol users is because the enemy wants to scientifically feminize us. So alcohol use. So your alcohol and your weed, the two staples of nigga life in America. Alcohol and weed. And nigga Muslim life too. Well, there's a such thing as a nigga Muslim. Let's keep it real. Alcohol and weed, the staples of nigga life, nigga culture. See, y'all worry about Trump. The most immediate threat to black life today is nigga life. The most immediate threat to black life today ain't Trump. It's nigga life, nigga culture. It's not only killing us, it's feminizing us, but to me, that's a good thing. It's a good thing that this nigga life is feminizing us. Because y'all ain't afraid of death today. You know, this generation don't fear death. Death don't scare us. You know, everybody got to die, you say. So it's YOLO. You only live once. So if I'm going to die slowly, enjoying my guilty pleasures of life, hey, so be it. Okay, I feel you. All of us indeed do have to die. But all of us don't have to surrender our masculinity and manhood before we do. You gotta die. You ain't gotta be self-feminized. You ain't gotta die a sissy. You do gotta die. You ain't gotta die a scientifically produced sissy. You don't. And so, since death don't scare us and then compel us to change, maybe the fear of being made a scientifically produced sissy will encourage us to get some get right. Maybe. Maybe not, but maybe. Next slide, please. I'm almost at my, y'all all right? Tell them why you mad, son. Got 2 more slides, then I'm going to close. The American public in general, and black urban areas in particular, are under an estrogen assault. The American public is under a literal estrogen assault. Dear sisters, we have to be real clear. What we are suffering from as a community is not just the feminization of the black male. We are also suffering from the masculinization of the black female. The de-feminization of women and the de-masculinization of men. And both processes are the spawns of our enemy's science. Did you know that while estrogen, the female hormone, excess estrogen feminizes him, did you know that excess estrogen masculinizes you? In laboratory studies, exposure to neonatal females or newborn females to supplemental estrogen, administering or injecting extra estrogen in a newborn female masculinizes the female. When that female, those female lab animals who are as newborns injected with extra estrogen, when they grow up, they exhibit male or masculine behavior, including attempting to mate with other women. The black lesbian phenomenon today is scientifically produced. The Honorable Wesley Muhammad said, stay away from the birth control pill. Did he not say that? Yes, sir. Did he not say that birth control and the birth control pill in particular was part of a death plot against black people? And did he not say that the aim of the white man with the birth control pill is to eliminate future black families. Did he say that? Well, we're going to put flesh on exactly how that's being done. The birth control pill, family, is one of the main culprits in the masculinization of women and the feminization of men. The birth control pill is one of the main culprits of both your masculinization and our feminization. Most birth control pills have estrogen in them. Residues. The estrogen, the excess estrogen that you take in with the birth control pill over the long term has, or certainly can have scientifically, masculinizing effects on you, sister. And there's two routes by which that affects and feminizes black men. If you're nursing a boy baby while taking birth control pills, you are being masculinized while he is being feminized. The second route is the millions of women who take birth control pills. When they urinate, they remove some of the estrogen. When you flush the toilet, it ends up in the sewer system. That estrogen, most of it is eaten by bacteria, but not all of it. And the sewage water treatment plants are unequipped to catch the estrogen. So it seeps into, the residue estrogen seeps into the lakes and rivers. Dr. Larry Barber, the white dude, Dr. Tyrone Hayes, we'll get to him in a second, but Dr. Larry Barber, geochemist from the U.S. Geological Society, studied 70 rivers and lakes in their estrogen level. In that residue estrogen feminized the fish of those water bodies. And we eat the fish, the feminized fish, with the excess estrogen. And we consume that excess estrogen. And what's important about Dr. Larry Barber's investigations, there's a concentration of these water bodies with a high level of estrogen or estrogen mimicking chemicals. There's a high concentration of them in water bodies that serve urban areas. Specifically, he pointed out, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, Ohio. In urban areas, the water that services us has a high level of excess estrogen. So we eat the fish, and black women, we get a little more masculinized. Black men get a little more feminized. And you bring other factors into it, then that masculinized woman can evolve into an out-and-out lesbian. That feminized man can evolve into an out-and-out lesbian. There is estrogen dominance in the hood. The hood suffers from estrogen dominance. And that's why there's so much black lesbianism. That's why there's so much, not just homosexuality, but see, it's that mild feminization that is really disastrous for us. Because most of us don't have a red dress in our closet at home. Most of us don't. I got to hedge my bets, because some of y'all might. But most of us don't have a red dress at home. Most of us don't cross-dress at night with a picture of J. Edgar Hoover over our mirror. Most of us don't get down like that. So most of us think I'm talking about someone else, but in most cases, I'm talking about you and me. See, that mild feminization, such as one example of lowered testosterone in men is dudes got mood swings like women. Look. Yeah. And so we have today, Minister Ishmael, an extremely emotional black man, and there is no clearer indication than in the current crop of so-called black male leaders. Man, y'all the most emotional dudes I've ever seen in my life. See? Look. An overly emotional man is a feminized man. You can't control your emotions. You're moody. That's mild feminization. And most of our black male leaders today, no, Farrakhan ain't a leader, a black leader. He ain't that. Dr. Umar was right. He's a black redeemer. He's a black redeemer. Don't put him in this bag of black leaders, black male leaders. You got this extreme ego. Now, testosterone produces ego. Don't trip. All men have ego. So ego ain't the problem, but ego problem is the problem. And when you marry an ego problem, and most of these dudes are self-delusional. They think way more of themselves than they should. They give themselves titles that ain't nobody legitimated. But when you marry an oversized ego of a man with heightened emotionalism, you got a moon god. You got a moon god that because he can't have his way, he want to carpet bomb anything and everybody. And y'all saw the YouTube videos. There's a lot of carpet bombing going on. There's a lot of cannibalizing. See, that's what these black male leaders were under the estrogen assault does. Another sign of the assault of estrogen, all this gunplay in the hood, that ain't a sign of masculinity out of control. It is not. It's really a sign, and be real clear. All of the gunplay in the hood is really a sign of the feminization of the hood. It's a sign of estrogen dominance. Why? See, the heightened gunplay is because dudes don't fight no more. That's the only reason. The gunplay is because dudes are afraid to fight. And so we solve all of our beefs with gun clapping. Any weak testosterone diminished male can pull a trigger. Any weak dude can pull a trigger. So all this gunplay is a direct result of the feminization of the hood. It's a direct, because high testosterone inspires you to confront your enemy. So we run from our enemy and then quick to pull a trigger on our neighbor, both of which are signs of the estrogen dominance in the hood. The black man has been feminized. Now, next slide, please. I'm going to run through this one, then I'm going to close out. Wait a minute. Before I get here, on this alcohol, Dr. Mike Hart, that's not this one. Dr. Mike Hart in the Huffington Post did a study on testosterone. Listen to his words. Testosterone levels, that's not this one, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. Testosterone levels, this is in 2013. Testosterone levels are plummeting. Studies have shown that the average man's testosterone in today's society is nearly 25% lower than in the 1980s. We document that most of the carnage that is the signature of hood life today, most of the carnage comes from a scientific paradigm that was pursued in the 1980s. 1980 was a watershed moment for black life in America. And most of our carnage comes directly out of scientists who got together and devised plans in California in the 80s. So when Dr. Mike Hart says testosterone levels are lower today, 25% lower than in the 1980s. And it says, without adequate testosterone, men become infertile, impotent, docile, and weak. See, low testosterone makes you docile and weak, makes you afraid to confront your enemy, makes you rather pray for your enemy rather than kill your enemy. That's what low testosterone does. He says, how do you protect your testosterone level? Whatever you do, he says, don't eat soy. Soy has high estrogen-like effects on the human body, such as enlargement of breast tissue, water retention, and female pattern of fat distribution. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's why I'm quoting, this is a footnote. Hashtag, Elijah Muhammad was right. He told us not to eat soy. And the white man made soy abundantly available. The white man is the devil. The white man is your mortal enemy. I said mortal enemy. Not your opponent. Your mortal enemy. What is a mortal enemy? It's an enemy that seeks, it's one who seeks the very death of his enemy. The white man is your mortal enemy. So everything God came and offered to us to give us life and life more abundantly, the devil has entrapped us and inspired us to go in the very opposite direction. That's the difference between Islam and nigger culture. So we're gonna make an invitation to you to come out of her, my people. Come out of nigger culture into the culture that'll save your life and your manhood and masculinity. So the American public is under an estrogen assault. The estrogen, sister, in the nail polish that you wear, in the body lotion that you use, much of it has this chemical they call phthalates. It's a chemical they use to soften plastic. And they also use it in fragrances, in scented body products. They did a study. Male babies whose mothers had high concentration of phthalates in their urine. They tracked those male babies, and as they got older, they declined to engage in typical male behavior. They didn't want to play as males do. They were demasculinized, and they found out that they were exposed to high levels of phthalates in the urine of the pregnant mother. Indicated that, for the most part, exposure, the fetus was exposed through the mother's scented body lotions or nail polishes. You have a baby, if you have a rubber ducky at home, throw that issue away. Throw it away. Rubber ducky has phthalates in it, and they did studies on the effect of a newborn or a child, young child. The exposure to phthalates just from rubber ducky. When you microwave your food in Tupperware has phthalates in it, and when you microwave your husband's food in Tupperware, the heated plastic leaks the phthalates into the food. And we eat the food, and it demasculinizes us. There is an estrogen dominance in the hood. You are being feminized, and you don't even know. That's why sister's harder today, colder today, and you weaker today, and softer today. It's not an accident. And so the slide, please. Then we're going to close it out. But I want to say this again. This is hashtag Elijah Muhammad is right. Look, Life Sciences, 1977. Homosexual mounting behavior induced in male rats and rabbits by a tryptophan-free diet. Now, I have to unpack this a little so you can understand what's going on. Those who have followed me in this endeavor have heard me speak on serotonin. Serotonin is a brain chemical that in the 1980s they discovered is their magic bullet to socially controlling mind and behavior. They've mastered the manipulation of this brain chemical called serotonin. And they can manipulate it one way to produce super predators in the hood. They can manipulate it in another way to produce the black sissy in the hood. And both, I document, the black thug and the black sissy are spawned from the same science of manipulating this brain chemical serotonin. One of the jobs of this brain chemical, it's an impulse lid. It checks natural instinct. In the news, they say it's a happy hormone. The media trivializes everything. They don't want you to know really what serotonin is, because your serotonin has been under deliberate assault, like your testosterone. Serotonin, the brain chemical, is a lid to impulses and natural instincts. It keeps it from a healthy level of brain serotonin and body serotonin, keeps our instincts from exploding out of control. It's the brake on our pulse. You lower serotonin, then you remove, it's like removing the brakes in your car when you speed. You can't control your impulses, and that's why if you a dude and you impulsive, well, you got serotonin problems, bro. An overly emotional, overly impulsive black man, that's just dangerous. Black men should not be impulsive. Black men should not be highly emotional. We got a whole bunch of moon god. It's damaging to the hood, it is. It's damaging to your home. Ya Allah. There's two impulsive, emotional persons in the home, but she got license. She got license. You and I don't. And when there's two in the home, that's why there's this carnage and chaos. Let her be the emotional one. Rise above emotion into the thinking of God. The black man is God. But serotonin. Now, serotonin, you need a high level of serotonin to not only control your urges, but the scientists discovered that, like testosterone, but to an even greater degree, serotonin is a power-acquiring or dominance-acquiring biochemical. Serotonin is metabolized by this enzyme, tryptophan, or amino acid tryptophan. Now, you get tryptophan in most foods. These scientists discovered in the lab, if you by reducing serotonin, by assaulting the serotonergic system, and I document that they have, for example, Columbia University took 80 black boys, healthy black boys, that they cherry-picked. They did blood tests and determined that they had high, healthy serotonin levels. And they cherry-picked them and put them under a study that assaulted with fenfluramine, a drug, assaulted their serotonin and reduced it, dropped it. And they went into that study. Highly intelligent, well-behaved, self-controlled boys. They left that study hyper-aggressive, unable to control their impulses. They learned that by reducing serotonin, one of the consequences is you lose sexual inhibition. And so one of the effects of low serotonin, and one of the characteristics of the caricature black thug, is hypersexuality. You know, the playboy, the one that run through all the women. See, hypersexuality, the inability to control that natural instinct, is one of the hallmarks of low serotonin, but they discovered further that if you push it far enough, hypersexuality will morph into homosexuality. So by assaulting, by deliberately reducing both testosterone in our men and serotonin, it pushes black males into hypersexuality that eventually crosses over into homosexuality. There are two ways that they discovered they can do that. They can directly assault the serotonin system of black males, which they do, bring them in studies, or covertly slip anti-serotonin drugs in a water or a drink. But they discovered another method. Homosexual mounting behavior induced in male rats and rabbits by a tryptophan-free diet. Tryptophan is the amino acid that metabolizes serotonin. It produces serotonin. We need this amino acid tryptophan to produce serotonin. You can get serotonin, tryptophan in foods. Red meat, white meat, eggs, many foods. These Italian scientists discovered that in the lab. They took lab rats and rabbits. They fed them a diet in which they deliberately took the tryptophan out of the food. That's what it means, tryptophan-free diet. So the food that they served these rabbits and rats for 30 days, it had no tryptophan in it. So it couldn't metabolize serotonin. What did it produce? Homosexual mounting behavior. The rats tried to homosexually mount other men. And what that says, if I were a betting man, I would put every little bit I own, or every little bit of value I may have, I would put it on a bet that if you were to examine, and it's easy to do, the food that is provided to black communities, the food in the grocery stores in the black communities, the food in the restaurants in the black communities, I guarantee you it would be tryptophan free. A brother said to me, he worked, and I can't remember who it was, they may be in here now. He worked at a job that did distribution. He loaded the trucks. The boxes that he loaded had zip codes on them. And this truck with these boxes went to this zip code, and this truck with these boxes went to this zip code. And if you put a box slated for one zip code in the wrong truck, they blew a casket. One of the worst things you can do is send a box slated for one zip code somewhere else. So you gotta ask yourself, why are those boxes slated for those areas? Well, I tell you why. Just as the water that services not just Flint, But every black area is contaminated with estrogen and atrazine and other feminizing chemicals. I promise you, the food that we get from our jewels, even our, since we can say that now, our Whole Foods, the food that is made available to us by our enemies, I promise you it's tryptophan free. So we got not just a testosterone shortage in the black community, we got a serotonin shortage in the black community. So what's the answer? Next slide. What's the solution? Yeah. Look, man. Look. I ain't set tripping. I ain't set tripping. Whatever group you represent, I respect that. You got value. I would never petition for your group to be shut down. It provides a service to our people. Whatever leader you follow, he or she got their value. That's what's up. But this is the only place that remasculinizes and refeminizes the black man and woman. You see? Look, man. Here, we don't switch up. We don't share entities. Masculinity for you, femininity for you. We don't share entities. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad is refeminizing a black woman. The black woman needs to be refeminized. Y'all need to be refeminized. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad is remasculinizes the black male. You got to come here. You got to come here. Not that others can't make a contribution, but look, I said all the gunplay in the hood is not a sign of hyper masculinity or masculinity gone wild. It's really a sign of the estrogen assault, the feminization of the hood. Well, see, in the wild, we don't pack guns, but we do what we do. And you know what we do. We don't gun clap. We ain't got a gun clap. Y'all carry guns. That's what Khalid was, and I'm wrapping up. That's what Khalid and y'all, cubs of Khalid. I respect that. We respect that. But we ain't gotta pack guns. We haven't yet. And we do what we do because the reason it's important that we not be out there flashing guns. See, part of the problem with the FOI is we blended in with what's going on out there. We become niggified. So you want to flash a gun? Nah, bruh. That's saying that you got a testosterone problem. Don't put that on the FOI. We ain't got testosterone problems up in here. So stop trying to do what they do. Inspire them to do what we do. So in closing, the minister, the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan is 1,000% correct. The white man is deliberately, chemically feminizing a black man and masculinizing a black woman. And because we understand this, the Nation of Islam is way more sympathetic toward our people who are in that condition. Way more than some of you out there who claim to be triple black revolutionaries of the I'm gonna get you sucker ilk. Your inability to sympathize with that victimized element of our family indicates that you don't understand the problem as deeply as you think you do. The black homosexual is as much a victim of white science as is the black crackhead, as is the black weed head, as is even a black thug. So, we don't beat them up physically. We don't advocate that they be restricted in the rights that every other citizen has. We understand that they are the spawn of our enemies' science, just like the black weed head is the spawn of our enemies' science. So, we keep it real about what they're doing and why they're doing it. And the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan wants to redeem them, but y'all want to kill them. That just means that we more pro-black than you are. And so my closing thought is this. Black man, stand up to the world and show them that while the Negro might well be the lady of the races, the black man is emphatically the God of the races. Assalamu alaikum.
Allahu Akbar.
Don't go.
Allahu Akbar.
Take a look at this.
Let's give, come forward, Dr. Student Minister Wesley a well-deserved round of applause for the great presentation and representation of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want everyone that's tuning in, don't turn off your computer and your devices yet. Please sit down. We're going to close with prayer. What Student Minister Dr. Wesley presented was the scientific, chemical, and biological evidence of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been telling us and warning us of the enemy that we are facing. It's not just the target of the black male in America. This is not a national conspiracy. It's an international, global, universal conspiracy of the black male, born out of the white man's great insecurity because he's the minority on the planet. So he's acting out of a genetic survival of his race. The black man outnumbers the white man 11-1. So what you see in white supremacy is the deep insecurity of the white male. And his population is declining. And his death rate now is exceeding the birth rate. So they are an endangered species. And the next step to endangerment is extinction. And that's what you see in Donald Trump. He's representing the white man's last hurrah because his time is up. This brother did such a magnificent job. This is what I want us to do. I want us to promote this message because what he presented to us, he exposed and revealed some of the root causes to behavioral patterns that all of us are looking at in our families. Am I lying? This helps us to understand this tendency, this sexual orientation, and the insatiable desire that when you are seeing this behavior manifest, it's driven by something that you are unaware of. So this helps us. It's not a condemnation. It's not a judgment. It's helping us to understand that we are up against a real enemy. And that enemy is represented in the Quran as a mischief maker, and Satan making mischief with the created things of life. So I take home today is a lot of knowledge, but let's promote this and get it across to all of your friends and family, and ask them to look at the evidence that was presented today that help us to understand better the root causes of homosexuality. Now, we gotta stop the weed smoking. Now, I've been telling you in the last few weeks that this weed has been chemically enhanced. It's not called loud for nothing. I smoked weed when I was, a junior, but the smell today is loud. It's letting you know that bad boy been enhanced. So the alcohol, the drugs, watch all of the lotions that you're putting on. Here's my rule of thumb when I go into Walgreens or in the store. If it got more than 5 ingredients, I'm not taking it. When that label got all of this stuff, and it's supposed to be lotion, so support black. Get your shea butter, get your pure cocoa butter. You don't need all of that crap that's from one end of the road to the other. How many different selections do you have to have for lotion? Are you kidding me? Toothpaste, mouthwash, all that is full of chemicals and pathogens that are designed to alter our biology and chemistry. So the food supply, that's why we have to go and get some land. That's why we have to support Muhammad's economic blueprint. That's why we gotta grow our own foods, because it's all in the food supply. It's all in the water. It's in everything, the soap, the pop we drink, everything has been chemically altered. So this is not to frighten you, it's to awaken you. So let's give our doctor and student minister, Brother Wesley Muhammad, a well-deserved round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, before we close, how many of you are visiting us today for your very first time? Can we recognize you by a show of hands? Hold this book for me, Danny. Get me that book. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How many of you believe that what you heard this morning to be the truth and good for our people? Let me see your hands. Well, if you know it to be the truth and you know that it is good, let us stand on what we know to be true, and let us unite and organize our community effectively so that we can survive in a time like this. How many of you would like to unite? How many of you would like to be a part of the Nation of Islam? And let's be about the business of doing what we have to do. I'm sorry? You want to further invite them?
If I may. I know it's not protocol, but we're not inviting you to a religion. It's critical. Let me see the hands of those, again, who are here for your first time. Okay. Look. I, Brother Minister Israel, and all of us right now are inviting you to something very specific, a process. We're inviting you to a process of re-manning and re-womaning. This is the process where black men are remade. This is the process where black women are remade. We are inviting you to come out of the culture that is killing you and feminizing you and masculinizing you. We are inviting you to come out of that and into not a mosque, not a religion, into the process of being a man again, the process of being a woman again. So if we ask you, if we invite you, when we ask how many are willing to stand on the truth that you heard, we're asking how many are ready to come out of the culture of death and into the process of re-manning, re-masculizing, re-womaning, and re-feminizing. So that's what the invitation is. I don't want you to get it twisted. We're not inviting you to a religion. We're inviting you to a life that is the exact antidote. The antidote of the life you've been living and that is killing you, that is feminizing you. So we're inviting you to a life, not a religion. How many will accept our invitation to begin the process of being re-masculinized and re-feminized, being re-man and re-woman? How many will accept our invitation to join on to this process? May I see your hands? Praise belongs to Allah. Now turn it back over.
Those of you who accept this truth, please, we would like you to stand. Those that raise their hand, and Brother Dr. Wesley would like to extend his hand of welcome to your hand on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and your brothers and sisters of the Nation of Islam. Please come forward, my dear brothers, my sisters that would like to join on and to accept the call today extended to you from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan through Student Minister Dr. Wesley Muhammad. Step up a little bit. No, step forward, step forward. We'd like to offer you Dr. Wesley's latest book, Understanding the Assault on the Black Man, Black Manhood, and Black Masculinity. Those of you who are watching via internet, you can go to finalcallstore.com. We've got one more brother coming up. And all of those that are present here today, you can get this book on your way out. And when you get this book, there's another book. Can you hold this one for me? This one will absolutely save your life. This one will clean our systems up. How to Eat to Live by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Please get these books on your way out. Brother Jason? We'll now turn the remainder of the program over to our student minister, Jason Muhammad. But again, one more well-deserved round of applause for our student minister, Dr. Wesley Muhammad.
Yes, sir. At this time, beloved brothers and sisters, we will ask that you support us in this part of our program called charity. We ask that you give out of what Allah has blessed you to receive. We are so grateful and honored with your physical presence, that you've lended your ears and your minds to today's message. But we ask that you support our efforts and the efforts of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in continuing to spread the message of freedom, justice, and equality, the truth to our people. So as the receptacles go around, whatever you can spare of your finance, we are so thankful and humbled for what you are able to give. And Allah reminds us that whatever we do of good, whatever we give, He returns it back to us tenfold. And that is a tremendous blessing. Brothers and sisters who are viewing via webcast, you too can donate and help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam as in this portion called charity by clicking that button right on your computer screen that says donate. And we thank you for what you are able to give in support of this cause. Brothers and sisters, of course, we want to just remind you that on Monday, brothers, is that special man's class, which is the FOI class. We want to invite you, these beautiful black men that are present and those at various study groups in Muhammad Mosque all over the country. Tomorrow night at 7:30 is a class specifically designed for the brothers. So we invite you out to your orientation or the FOI class, the Fruit of Islam class. That's 7:30 sharp tomorrow night. And we look forward to sharing more with you, and questions that you may not be able to ask in this forum, you'll be able to do that tomorrow night. And our beloved sisters, there's a special class just for the woman, which is on Saturdays at 9 a.m. And what is it called, sisters? That's right, the MGT class, every Saturday, not for the brothers, for the sisters. And tomorrow night, Monday, is just for the brothers. And in between that time, we have on Wednesdays and Fridays, we have our study groups where we continue to parse and study the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And again, that is at 7:30 p.m. too. So we have enough time throughout the week to strengthen our minds and to get the wisdom and the knowledge that we need in order to develop and to grow. Is that all right? So brothers and sisters, we are at the conclusion of our program. Brother Ishmael Muhammad will be making a couple of announcements in regards to Savior's Day and, of course, the Mother Khadija Farrakhan's Children's Village, which we want to share some important information with you as we close out this program. And also, we want to make sure that you receive here in Chicago some local information regarding Savior's Day and other events that are taking place in our nation. So at this time, we ask wherever you are to please stand for prayer, and then please hold your position in your place as we await Brother Ishmael to share some very important and brief announcements. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we worship, and Thee alone do we beseech for Thine aid. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom You have bestowed favors. not the path upon whom your wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after hearing thy teachings. Ameen. May Allah bless you. Thank you again for your presence. Thank you again for all that you have done, and we pray that Allah blesses you with a